Your morning coffee may be doing far less than it could for your body. Many people rely on coffee simply to wake up and feel more alert, but recent research suggests that with a few simple additions, coffee can become something much more powerful. In fact, scientists have begun studying how certain natural powders can influence the way the body processes caffeine, regulates blood sugar, and even supports brain health. Surprisingly, some of these substances are extremely inexpensive and widely available, which may be one reason they rarely receive the same attention as commercial supplements. In this video, we explore 5 simple powders that can transform an ordinary cup of coffee into something far more beneficial for energy, metabolism, and mental clarity. They are ranked from helpful to potentially game-changing. Some of the findings associated with these ingredients have been so striking that researchers initially questioned whether their data were correct and repeated experiments to confirm the results. Before we continue, I'd like to learn a little about you. If you feel comfortable, let us know your age and where you're watching from by leaving a comment below. Many nutritional strategies work slightly differently depending on age, lifestyle, and overall health, and it is always interesting to see where members of this community are joining from. Let's begin with the 5th powder on the list. Raw cacao powder is often associated with desserts, but its nutritional profile makes it far more interesting than many people realize. Unlike sweetened chocolate mixes, raw, minimally processed cacao contains a remarkable concentration of antioxidants. Researchers at Cornell University examined what happens when cacao is combined with coffee, and they observed something unexpected. Certain compounds in cacao appear to influence how the body responds to caffeine. Instead of the sharp spike in energy that many people experience after drinking coffee, followed by the familiar afternoon crash, cacao seems to support a steadier pattern of energy. Scientists sometimes refer to this as a more sustained energy curve, where alertness remains stable for several hours rather than peaking quickly and then dropping. Part of this effect may come from cacao's unique compounds known as flavonoids. One particular flavonoid, epicatechin, is capable of crossing the blood-brain barrier, meaning it can enter brain tissue directly. Once there, it appears to stimulate the production of a protein called brain-derived neurotrophic factor, or BDNF. This protein is important because it helps support the growth, maintenance, and communication of brain cells. Some studies have suggested that regular cacao consumption may be associated with improved blood flow to certain areas of the brain, including the hippocampus, which plays a central role in memory and learning. In one controlled study published in Nature Neuroscience, participants who consumed raw cacao daily for several weeks demonstrated measurable improvements in certain cognitive tests. If you decide to experiment with cacao and coffee, preparation matters. Many people add 1 to 2 tablespoons of raw organic cacao powder to a cup of coffee that has cooled slightly. Extremely high temperatures can degrade some of cacao's delicate compounds, so allowing freshly brewed coffee to sit for a minute or two before mixing can help preserve its properties. Because raw cacao does not dissolve instantly, using a small whisk or milk frother can help blend it evenly into the coffee, creating a rich, slightly bitter chocolate flavor. Choosing the right product is also important. Raw cacao that has not been Dutch processed or alkalized retains far more of its natural flavonoids. Processing methods that alter acidity can remove a large portion of these beneficial compounds. Now, let's move to the 4th powder on the list, Ceylon cinnamon. Cinnamon has been studied extensively for its potential effects on blood sugar regulation. In a 2020 meta-analysis that combined results from multiple clinical studies involving more than 1,500 individuals with type 2 diabetes or prediabetes, researchers observed that regular cinnamon intake was associated with modest reductions in fasting blood glucose levels. Some participants also experienced improvements in hemoglobin A1C, a measure that reflects average blood sugar over several months. However, there is an important distinction that many people overlook. Most cinnamon sold in grocery stores is a variety known as cassia cinnamon. Cassia contains higher concentrations of a compound called coumarin. When consumed in large amounts over long periods, coumarin can place stress on the liver. This is why health professionals often recommend using Ceylon cinnamon, sometimes called true cinnamon, for frequent use. Ceylon cinnamon contains dramatically lower levels of coumarin and is generally considered the safer option for regular dietary use. It is typically lighter in color and often labeled with its botanical name Cinnamomum verum. Although it tends to be slightly more expensive than cassia cinnamon, many people prefer it when using cinnamon daily. Coffee itself has also been linked in observational studies with a reduced risk of developing type 2 diabetes. Some large population analyses have suggested that moderate coffee consumption may be associated with improved metabolic markers. When cinnamon is combined with coffee, the polyphenols present in coffee may help improve the absorption of certain compounds found in cinnamon. One simple way to incorporate cinnamon is to add a small amount directly to the coffee grounds before brewing. This allows hot water to extract more of the flavor and compounds during the brewing process. Another option is to prepare a small cinnamon infusion by simmering cinnamon in water for several minutes and adding it to brewed coffee. Some researchers have suggested that consuming cinnamon before meals may influence how the body responds to carbohydrates, potentially helping stabilize post-meal blood sugar levels. However, it is important to approach these strategies thoughtfully. Anyone taking medications, particularly blood sugar-lowering medications or blood thinners, should consult a healthcare professional before adding therapeutic amounts of cinnamon to their routine. These first two powders already demonstrate how simple ingredients can influence the way the body responds to coffee. But the powders that follow in this list become even more interesting, including one that produced such dramatic results in laboratory testing that researchers initially believed their equipment was malfunctioning. In the next part of this video, we'll continue with the remaining powders and explore why scientists believe they may significantly change the way your body responds to coffee. As we continue exploring simple powders that may transform an ordinary cup of coffee into something far more interesting for brain and metabolic health, the next ingredient brings us into a field that has been receiving increasing attention in neuroscience research. The third powder on the list is lion's mane mushroom powder. At first glance, this ingredient may sound unusual, but over the past decade, it has become one of the most studied medicinal mushrooms for its potential role in supporting cognitive health. Several clinical studies, particularly those conducted in Japan, have examined its effects in older adults experiencing mild cognitive decline. In one controlled trial, participants consumed lion's mane mushroom extract daily for 16 weeks. Researchers observed measurable improvements on standardized cognitive tests compared with participants who did not receive the supplement. Even more interestingly, some brain imaging analyses suggested increased activity and connectivity in certain brain regions commonly affected by aging. Scientists are careful when interpreting these findings because the brain is extraordinarily complex, but the results suggest that compounds in lion's mane may support neural communication and brain function. Lion's mane contains unique molecules known as hericenones and irenicines. These compounds are small enough to cross the blood-brain barrier and appear to stimulate the production of nerve growth factor, a protein that plays a key role in maintaining and supporting neurons. Nerve growth factor helps protect nerve cells and may contribute to the brain's ability to adapt and form new neural connections. When lion's mane is combined with coffee, the caffeine may increase blood flow to the brain, potentially improving the delivery of certain bioactive compounds. Some researchers refer to this as creating a temporary window of increased neuroplasticity, meaning the brain may be slightly more receptive to forming new neural pathways during that period. Other research has explored lion's mane in relation to myelin, the protective coating that surrounds nerve fibers. Myelin tends to decline gradually with age, which can contribute to slower thinking or reduced nerve efficiency. Some laboratory studies suggest that compounds in lion's mane may help support processes involved in maintaining this protective layer. However, it is important to keep expectations realistic. A systematic review of clinical studies published recently found that results across human trials are mixed. Some studies showed improvements in cognitive measures, while others did not detect statistically significant changes. Differences in extract quality, dosage, and duration likely explain part of this variation. Lion's mane is not a miracle solution, but preliminary evidence suggests it may support brain health when used consistently over time. Preparation and product quality are particularly important. Many experts recommend using a dual-extracted lion's mane powder. This means the mushroom has been processed using both water and alcohol extraction methods, allowing both water-soluble and fat-soluble compounds to be obtained. Regular dried mushroom powder may contain only a small fraction of the active components found in properly extracted supplements. If someone chooses to add lion's mane to coffee, many people mix about 1 teaspoon of extract powder into coffee that has cooled slightly after brewing. The flavor is often described as mild, slightly savory, and sometimes compared to the umami taste found in mushrooms. For those exploring potential cognitive benefits, research trials typically used approximately 2 to 3 grams of extract daily. The second powder on the list may surprise many people: creatine monohydrate. Creatine is commonly associated with athletic performance and muscle strength, but scientists have increasingly been studying its role in brain energy metabolism. The human brain consumes about 20% of the body's total energy, despite representing only a small portion of body weight. Because of this high demand, compounds that help regulate cellular energy can influence brain performance. Creatine acts as a rapid energy buffer inside cells. It helps regenerate adenosine triphosphate, or ATP, which is the primary energy molecule used by cells, including neurons. When ATP levels drop, brain cells may struggle to maintain optimal signaling and function. Researchers at the University of Sydney conducted a study in which vegetarians consumed creatine daily for several weeks. The goal was not to improve muscle strength, but to examine cognitive performance. The results showed modest but measurable improvements in working memory and certain mental tasks. One explanation is that people whose diets are naturally low in creatine may experience a greater benefit from supplementation. Coffee and creatine may complement one another in interesting ways. Caffeine increases alertness and blood flow in the brain, while creatine helps stabilize cellular energy systems. Together, they may support more sustained mental performance and potentially reduce the energy dip that some individuals experience after caffeine consumption. Long-term observational research has also explored creatine intake in older adults. Some studies have found associations between higher creatine levels and better markers of physical and cognitive health over time. While these findings do not prove direct cause and effect, they highlight the importance of cellular energy metabolism in maintaining brain function as we age. Creatine is also being studied for its potential influence on mood and emotional resilience. Early research suggests that improving mitochondrial energy production in brain cells may help support stable brain chemistry under certain conditions. However, more studies are needed before firm conclusions can be drawn. For those who choose to use creatine, the most commonly studied form is creatine monohydrate. A typical dose used in research is about 5 grams per day. Creatine works through a process called saturation, meaning it gradually accumulates in tissues over time. It may take several weeks of consistent intake before full levels are reached in muscle and brain cells. Unlike some supplements that produce immediate sensations, creatine tends to produce subtle improvements that become noticeable only after regular use. Some individuals report better mental endurance or reduced brain fatigue after a week or two, while full effects may take several weeks. Quality also matters when selecting creatine supplements. Purified forms tested for contaminants are generally recommended. As with any supplement, individuals with existing medical conditions, particularly kidney disease, should consult a healthcare professional before beginning supplementation. At this point, we have already covered several powders that may support brain function, metabolic health, and energy balance when combined with coffee, but the final powder on the list is perhaps the most intriguing of all. According to emerging research, it may influence some of the fundamental biological processes related to aging itself, and that is exactly what we will explore next. As we reach the final powder on this list, The conversation moves from energy and metabolism into something even broader, the science of healthy aging. Among the compounds researchers have been studying in recent years, glycine has received growing attention because of its involvement in many essential processes throughout the body. Glycine is a simple amino acid, but its biological importance is surprisingly large. Scientists studying aging have observed that glycine participates in more than 100 metabolic pathways, including processes related to antioxidant defense, tissue repair, and cellular maintenance. Although the body can produce glycine on its own, some researchers believe that modern diets may provide less glycine than diets consumed by earlier generations, particularly when traditional foods such as bone broths, connective tissues, and collagen-rich cuts of meat were eaten more frequently. Because of its small molecular structure, glycine is easily absorbed and distributed throughout the body. One of its key roles is helping produce glutathione, often referred to as one of the body's primary antioxidants. Glutathione helps neutralize oxidative stress, which is associated with aging and many chronic conditions. Glycine is also involved in the body's natural production of creatine and contributes to cellular processes such as autophagy, the mechanism by which cells remove damaged proteins and recycle their components. Long-term observational research has suggested that higher glycine intake may be associated with favorable health markers. In one multi-year study conducted in Japan, researchers observed that individuals with higher glycine consumption tended to demonstrate better health outcomes as they aged. While observational studies cannot prove direct cause and effect, they have helped spark increased interest in the potential role of glycine in supporting what scientists call health span, the period of life spent in good health. Researchers have also explored how glycine interacts with the body's energy systems. Some evidence suggests it supports mitochondrial function, the tiny structures inside cells responsible for producing energy. Glycine also participates in methylation, an essential biochemical process involved in DNA repair and regulation. Maintaining healthy methylation patterns is considered important for long-term cellular stability. Cardiovascular health has also been an area of interest. In a study associated with researchers from Harvard Medical School, participants who supplemented with glycine for several weeks showed improvements in markers related to vascular flexibility. Arterial flexibility is an important component of cardiovascular health because it allows blood vessels to adapt more easily to changes in blood flow and pressure. When glycine is added to coffee, it may create an interesting balance. Glycine interacts with certain receptors in the brain that can promote a calm and focused mental state. Instead of amplifying caffeine's stimulating effects, it may help smooth out the jitteriness that some people experience after drinking coffee, allowing for clearer concentration without excessive stimulation. Glycine has also been studied for its relationship with sleep quality. Research presented by sleep scientists found that individuals who consumed several grams of glycine before bedtime experienced improvements in subjective sleep quality. Participants reported feeling more refreshed upon waking and spending more time in deeper stages of sleep, which are important for physical recovery and brain maintenance. Another interesting aspect of glycine relates to collagen production. Glycine makes up roughly 1/3 of the amino acids found in collagen, the structural protein that supports skin, joints, connective tissue, and bones. Because collagen production naturally declines with age, researchers have explored whether adequate glycine intake may support the body's ability to maintain these tissues. From a practical standpoint, glycine is relatively easy to incorporate into beverages because it dissolves quickly in warm liquids. Unlike many amino acids that have a bitter taste, glycine actually has a naturally mild sweetness. For this reason, some people add a small amount to coffee as a subtle sweetener without using sugar. Some individuals experiment with dividing glycine intake between morning and evening. A small amount in the morning may support calm mental clarity, while another portion later in the day may align with its potential effects on sleep quality. Because responses to supplements vary widely from person to person, it is always wise to begin with small amounts and consult a healthcare professional when appropriate. When we look back at the powders discussed in this video, each one offers a different potential benefit. Raw cacao may support sustained energy and antioxidant intake. Ceylon cinnamon has been studied for its relationship with metabolic health. Lion's mane mushroom has generated interest for its potential role in supporting cognitive function. Creatine monohydrate is known for its influence on cellular energy systems, including those in the brain, and glycine participates in numerous biological processes related to recovery, repair, and overall metabolic balance. The idea is not necessarily to add everything at once, but rather to understand how small adjustments to a daily habit, like drinking coffee, might influence health in subtle ways over time. Some people prefer to start with one ingredient that aligns with their personal goals, whether that is metabolic balance, mental clarity, or overall wellness. Now, I'm curious about your experience. Have you ever added anything unusual to your coffee? Did you notice a difference in how you felt afterward? Feel free to share your thoughts in the comments below. And if you found this discussion helpful, consider subscribing to the channel. In the next video, we'll explore a morning routine that combines coffee, specific foods, and strategic timing, an approach researchers recently linked to improved metabolic health in adults over 50. It may challenge some of the common assumptions people have about breakfast. Until then, enjoy your morning coffee. And remember that sometimes the smallest changes in daily habits can have surprisingly meaningful effects over time.